People of the internet, it has been a while since the last time I actually spoke to you. I have had an incredibly busy 12 months, like working on personal projects, on commercial work, and most recently actually moving into consulting. I've been helping more and more photographers learn how to select equipment, how to post-produce, and how to position themselves and get more clients. I've been assisting people that have gone from relative obscurity to being featured in some of the world's greatest wedding publications, currently established artists, and trying to help them to raise their profile in the industry. But anyway, that's kind of enough about me. That's not why I'm here. The title of the video should have given this away, but today we're going to be talking about what happened to the Fujifilm videos that I was doing. The last time that we spoke specifically about this, I said directly I had moved over to some Canon equipment for reliability and for commercial work, and I was waiting for Fujifilm to improve their autofocus before I made any further steps. And if you've been paying attention to Fujifilm recently, their firmware has actually been getting worse and not better. The 6.0 firmware specifically was absolutely atrocious. There's been a range of different people making videos on it. Essentially, if you're using single point autofocus in AFS or AFC, it was fine. But if you ever used object or subject tracking, it was basically dead on arrival. You could not use it. You would get maybe 10 to 20% of your shots in focus. And if you're doing video, it would just randomly lose focus on the subject, pulse towards the background, and just generally be useless. My biggest frustration with Fujifilm is that they initially confirmed that there were problems with this. Andreas actually reached out to me, spoke to me directly. He was incredible. The second all the evidence and information was sent to Fuji Japan, radio silence. Literally no response from them. They wouldn't talk to me. No kind of replies, no customer service, nothing. And as a result of that, I don't particularly trust that they are going to fix this in a timely manner. And if they do, I'm not going to go out and rebuy another Fuji kit on the off chance that this has resolved a problem. They've claimed that firmware 5, 6, and 7 have all fixed this problem, when in actual fact, they've all made it worse. So if you are considering going out and buying a Fujifilm camera right now, but you should buy one that does not have the newest chip in it. As far as I'm aware, that includes cameras such as the GFX50 S, R, and S2, the 100S and the 100, the Fuji X-T4 and X-T3, and the X Pro 3 generation of cameras, because everything using their current tracking algorithm is essentially unreliable right now. The X100VI also has these problems. A friend of mine, Tobiah, allowed me to use his for a while, and it has exactly the same issues. If you rely on focus tracking at all for the way that you do photography, these cameras are not for you. If you are completely content using single point autofocus and you do not require any kind of tracking, they are great, and genuinely you can rely on them. That kind of leads me on to where I'm at. I don't own any Fujifilm equipment at the moment. Nothing. And that's not because I don't love them. Frankly, I'm pretty frustrated. I really love the color from Fujifilm. I love the handling of the cameras. The lenses had character. They were beautiful. Essentially, the only reason I'm not using Fujifilm right now is because their autofocus is literally unusable for tracking. Now, that doesn't mean that I can't make photographs without that, but there are lots of situations I outlined where I don't have myself behind the camera. If I'm making a video and I've got 3 cameras set up on tripods and I'm interviewing somebody, I cannot rely on personal intervention. I can't get up, hit the camera, touch somebody's face, or change anything. Once I'm sat down, the shot is the shot. I can't change anything. This is true for many jobs, not just for times when I'm interviewing other people, especially with video. It's true for projects where I'm running multi-cameras. Say if I'm running an interview or I'm running a product demonstration, they're not going to be able to allow me to stop them to go and check another camera is still working and in focus. You get one chance at it. And if you're doing anything that requires that you're hands off with your equipment, again, the Fuji system isn't for you. And as a result, I've made switches. I moved initially to Canon with the R6 Mark II. This is an R6 Mark II. And I also started using something new, which I've actually been really, really enjoying from another brand, Nikon. This is a Nikon ZF with a 40mm f2. We'll talk about this more in the future, but I've actually spent probably about a year now, primarily shooting with 3 Canon R6 Mark IIs. These guys, R6 Mark IIs, and I've been very, very happy with the results. It is an incredibly boring camera to shoot. It does not have the color reproduction that I would choose. I still prefer Fuji's colors, no offense, Canon. But this is literally bomb-proof. I have used this in essentially every situation, from talking head video to recording interviews without anybody operating the camera. Very often I present and record at the same time, and I have to rely on these to record audio, to maintain focus, to just generally be bulletproof. And pretty much the only downside to this camera, as far as I can tell, is that Canon's dynamic range is not the best. If you want to get the maximum dynamic range out of this sensor, you end up having to make compromises on noise, and that is a problem. It does genuinely cause me an issue, not because the image isn't recoverable. I'll show you some more footage here so you can have a look. But basically the problem is that I have to spend a long time in Resolve or in Final Cut denoising the video, and that can add literally days to the post-production time on larger projects, and I'd rather not have to do that. That said, in every aspect that counts, this camera has been incredibly reliable. It doesn't overheat, there are no time and record limits, and most importantly for me, the tracking autofocus is reliable. Now, I'm not going to get too far into it in this video, but this has also been an incredibly reliable stills camera. I've currently got this mounted with the 50mm 1.8, which is actually a bit of a hidden gem. I think that people sleep on this, and it is fantastic. But I've also been using it with adapted lenses, like this Sigma 28mm 1.4, which is an EF mount. And again, it's been very, very reliable. Amazing rendering, really interesting video quality, beautiful colors, and essentially you have access to 20 to 30 years worth of Canon's lens catalog. And I think, honestly, you could do worse than going back and finding some of those EF lenses and adapting them to the R6 Mark II. Does this mean that I'll never go back to Fuji? Absolutely not. I've said this before. I love Fujifilm's colors. If I can find absolute concrete evidence that this problem's solved, I would absolutely love to try a Fujifilm again in the future. Does this mean you should sell your Fujifilm cameras? Again, no. If you're happy with the results that you're getting from your camera right now, stick with it. If it's serviceable for you, that's fantastic. If it's not serviceable for you and you're feeling frustrated and you're hearing other people tell you, oh, it's user error, it's this, it's that. In the case of autofocus tracking, that's not the case. You are going to have better performance from a number of different sources. I've been using the Nikon autofocus system in the ZF, which apparently is significantly improved from their older cameras, and frankly, that's perfectly serviceable. Again, just like the Canon, it isn't as sticky as the Fujifilm, but it's accurate. If it says it's in focus, and I can trust that it's actually going to do what it says. Just so the people know, like, how long have you been shooting Fujifilm now, Harris?
Well, since about 2018, roughly, I think.
A big part of like how we first started talking was when you were looking to make a bigger jump into hospitality.
Yes.
And you were looking to make the transition. And for me, like, seeing the way that your career has accelerated recently has been nothing short of amazing. Can you tell people a little bit about the kind of content that you shoot right now?
Well, it's a range, so I guess luxury hotels, hospitality, and then startup corporate. So a lot of Series A, B, C funding, corporate, Deloitte, and then also I do show business now, entertainment, working with comedians.
Harris, you sent me some images from your XH2S a few days back, and you kind of sent me about 400 files that showing the results. Could you comment a little bit about like exactly how that's been now that you've kind of installed the newest firmware on that camera?
First of all, how do I use the camera? My use case is, as you mentioned, I use single point autofocus just because that was the way I'm used to using it from the X-T3. So when I translated over to the XH2S, I continued using it that way. When you told me about object tracking, I was really impressed at first. And then as the firmware updates came in, I started to get a bit worried because, yeah, it was not very reliable.
Like, could you comment a little bit about how the XH2S is since the firmware update? How's it been since updating things?
So let me put it this way. If I'm shooting a live comedy event, I just put it in manual focus. I've never trusted Fujifilm autofocus. And I think with these new firmware updates, it's just proven to me that continue doing what I'm doing. If you're going to shoot something in video and it's far away, keep it in manual focus. If you're manning the camera, just put it in manual focus.
But if you want to manually focus a camera that you can't physically be in front of, you have to hire an operator, which means the cost of that equipment is suddenly significantly more expensive because you're paying a day rate for an operator and not just working solo or working with a team of two or working with the producer and you. And like, it just basically adds complexity and cost. And very often there are clients that will not pay for those extras, so it comes out of your bottom line. It essentially means you're making less money. So that said, like, how have you found it in terms of consistency? If it's that bad for video, how has it been for stills?
I tried it on that day out where I sent you the batch of 400 images. After my initial review, I still wouldn't use it professionally. I'm going to stick to single point and just keep it reliable, because there is no way I'm going to risk my work. I mean, let me just put it this way. Whether it's corporate hospitality or show business, I only get one shot.
Yeah.
Maybe in the hotel I get maybe a second chance, but we need to keep it moving. I can't sit there and review all the time. Like I said, I'm not someone that shot Sony and then switched to Fuji. I never took full advantage of all these great features, but someone that's looking to develop the photographing skills, someone who's looking to improve, get more dynamic shots. I'm getting more bold with my show business because I'm moving in and out, back and forth, trying to get more dynamic movement. These features would be nice to have, but I just won't take the risk.
When Firmware 3.0 came out, I waited for a while before I sold my Fujifilm system, but I moved back to Canon like basically instantly, because there's no world where I could deal with it. I had a job coming up, and I thought, if this client comes back to me and asks me why there is a problem with this footage, and I know about that now, it's on me. Like, it's my fault. Like, I have to solve this problem because I'm aware of it. And especially with the work that I do now, when I'm kind of advising other photographers on like what to build their kit around so they can get the look that they want, and it's mainly image focused, it feels really bad to say that if you want to buy a GFX right now, don't buy the 100-2 or the 100S2 because they're both unreliable. That's a really hard conversation to have with somebody, and to tell somebody, no, go away and buy this 5, 6 year, 7-year-old camera. The tracking will be slow. It will be very, very difficult to acquire focus in some situations, but it will tell the truth. Like, having to say that to somebody is a really gross thing. Like, it feels bad to be able to like have a brand like Fujifilm that I genuinely believe in, and I know you do too, because you've used the cameras forever. But it's kind of upsetting because I know that I can't recommend those, and it's an entire brand that's off the table. And I'm kind of relieved that Nikon's kind of come in and started doing some kind of more interesting looking cameras and some more interesting things with lenses. We've just seen them release a 35mm 1.4, and that's genuinely just one of the most interesting things I've seen, because it's a budget lens with a fast aperture and a classic design, and it's brand new. I can buy it for, I think it's £600 in the UK. Maybe there's some tax on that, I can't remember exactly, but that price point makes it incredibly attractive. That's cheaper than a lot of Sigma lenses, and it's native and small and compact. And when I look at that and then I look back at what Fujifilm's doing, it's just so confusing. You can have a full frame camera with 60 frames a second 4K raw video and these amazing compact lenses with classic rendering, and then you look at Fujifilm and they're charging the same or more money, and at that point it's like, well, how can I ever recommend that?
If you want to get into Fuji, I think if you're okay with manual focus or single point focus, basically, if you shoot Sony, don't buy a Fuji. You're going to get pissed off eventually. If you're coming from an X-T3 and you just shoot single point, you'll be happy. You'll be fine. If you're like me, because if that's your comfort zone and you don't really want to try all these new autofocus things, you'll be okay.
So you've probably seen there have been more and more interviews with creatives, and that's going to continue. I'm also going to be doing more of these thought piece videos where I'm just talking to camera a little bit more, something simpler. Largely because I've realized I work so much at the moment, I don't have infinite time to produce videos exactly the way that I would for a client and exactly the way that I want to. Like right now, I have 4 projects on the back burner that I want to upload to this channel that I've really not had a chance to do because I'm trying to put production value ahead of content. And I'm starting to realize that that isn't the most important thing. I would much rather get something out to you so you have content on a regular basis rather than force myself to work on a project and then run out of time so you get nothing. Some topics we're going to be covering soon is the difference between vintage and modern optics, how to select lenses based on character, what character even means. The post-production coaching that I'm doing involves every camera system. So I actually end up getting files from everywhere, all over the world, basically every lens, every camera combination. And I'm seeing some really interesting stuff coming out. And then we're going to look at a bunch of reviews. Like hopefully We'll be doing a lot more content with this Nikon ZF. I absolutely love this camera. It has been fantastic. And we're going to be talking about some of the challenges that you might face as a professional creative. Recently, I've had some health issues that have kind of prevented me from being able to use the equipment that I would prefer. And I think that people don't necessarily talk about that as much as they could. If you're interested in a holistic view of what it means to be a creative professional, what it means to produce media in this day and age, like make content like this, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.